What's going on, everyone? Nathan here. So last June, I made one of the biggest investments ever into my YouTube channel, and that was picking up the 14-inch MacBook Pro that was released in 2021. I have the base model, so this has the M1 Pro chip inside of it. I wanted to make the transfer from editing all of my videos on LumaFusion with my iPad to a more professional software, which I ended up going with Final Cut Pro 10. Since making this purchase, I really haven't looked back, and now it's been about 7 months of using this laptop consistently for everything YouTube related. So in this video, I'm gonna break down my true experience, both the good and the not so good when it comes to video editing on this device. So I'm also gonna give you my recommendation if I think the 2021 14-inch M1 Pro MacBook Pro, such a mouthful, is still good enough for video editing in 2023, or if now, because Apple just unveiled the new M2 MacBook Pros, you should go with the base M2 version. So let's get right into the video. This has a 14.2-inch Liquid Retina XDR display with a screen resolution of 3024 by 1964 and has 254 pixels per inch. I don't even notice it's not a 4K panel, even when editing 4K footage, because of its relatively smaller size compared to other 4K monitors. The increase in screen size over the previous year and the slimmer borders makes this a much more enjoyable and pleasing display to look at. So for all my Apple haters out there, yes, this now has the classic Apple notch at the top, but let me tell you right now, after about a day or two, you really don't notice it. As soon as you launch most applications, the top menu bar comes down and hides the notch completely. So as you're video editing, you literally can't even see it because the top menu bar is there, and it works out perfectly where it comes down and completely covers the notch. So I'm telling you, it's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. This display has a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, which is noticeable, especially when working with film, and really great when adjusting exposure on clips. When it comes to color, this display has a DCI-P3 of 99%, which makes it really accurate for color grading. So I know that this doesn't really meet up to the Adobe RGB coverage, but I'm telling you, it still has amazing and accurate colors. They're vibrant and makes this panel ideal for video editing. This display also has a max brightness of 1000 nits and a peak brightness of 1600 nits, so it gets plenty bright for any sort of setting that you could be in, whether at home or on the go. You'll be able to see the content you're working on. And the last thing that I absolutely love about this display is the ProMotion technology, which gives it adaptive refresh rates up to 120 Hz. So as you navigate around the interface, scroll through a timeline, or work on transitions between clips, the display feels buttery smooth at all times. So the next big thing that makes this laptop so great for video editing, and I know it's more of a Mac OS thing than a MacBook thing, but it's gotta be Final Cut Pro 10. I decided on this being my video editing software of choice for a few reasons. The first is its simplistic nature and magnetic timeline. It is so quick to move clips exactly where you want, and I feel it really helps me keep my timelines neat and organized, which is huge for me. The price was the next big reason for me, as Final Cut Pro 10 is a one-time purchase of $300, which is already better than Adobe Premiere Pro's annual subscription model. But I purchased Apple's Pro Apps bundle for education, which gives you Final Cut Pro 10, Motion Compressor, and 2 other applications for a total of $200. So not only are you getting 4 other applications, but you're also saving $100 on just Final Cut Pro 10. Unreal deal, you should look into it as well. And the last reason is I knew that there was a large support of plugins that you could purchase for Final Cut Pro 10, and I really wanted to invest in the best of the best to increase the production quality and efficiency of my edits. So while there are some great websites out there to purchase plugins from, I do want to give a general piece of advice to everyone out there to please be careful who you give your personal information out to. So this past summer, my grandparents did end up getting scammed, and for a couple hours, they had lost their entire life savings. I came home to that. They had no idea what had happened. They were so scared, and I hated seeing them like that. I really wish that there was something I could have done or someone to have protected them. And so that is why I'm super excited to announce the sponsor of this video, Aura. Aura is an easy to use app that includes everything that you need to stay safe online. Aura protects you from scammers and hackers by scanning the dark web, where criminals sell stolen information who are looking for your emails, passwords, and social security numbers. When I added my email address to Aura, it found my personal information at over 30 different brokers online, and then it immediately started requesting the removal of my information from these places. I would also consider Aura to be the Swiss Army knife of online security because it does so much more than that. It protects your devices from viruses, malware, and spyware. It helps you reduce the number of robocalls you receive. You get a VPN through them to encrypt your personal information while online, and so much more than that. So nobody thinks that they're actually going to get hacked until it does happen, and then it's just one of the scariest things for someone to go through. So please let Aura do the hard work by keeping you safe online. So if you sign up right now, Aura will actually give each of you a free 2-week trial if you go through my link. So go to aura.com/Nathan Lemoyne or scan the QR code that's been on the screen this whole time to start your free 2-week trial. So moving on to the next reason why the 14-inch MacBook Pro is so great for video editing, and that is its port selection. Anyone who's had an earlier model of the MacBook Pro knows just how scarce the port selection became and how annoying dongles are. With this version, they brought back all the necessary ports that you could need to help you create content. You get the new MagSafe 3 port, which is honestly such an amazing port because it will save your extremely expensive device in case someone steps on the cord by accident. It'll just pull out. Your laptop will be fine. You also get 3 USB-C ports, which are all Thunderbolt 4. You also get a headphone jack with support for high impedance headphones, which are great for video editors to make sure your vocals sound, as some might say, mint. You also get an HDMI port and an SD-XC, which is just, it's so great. It's so great not having to worry about a dongle. It's just right there. I just pull the SD card out of my camera, plop it in there, and I love it. I love it. So most of the time when I'm in like a full edit mode and I'm sitting down for hours at a time, I'm using about 5 out of the 7 ports available on this device. I'm charging my MacBook. I use a USB-C port as a display port for my monitor. I'm using the headphone jack, and on the other side, I have my SD card in and also an external hard drive in the other USB-C port. Currently with my workflow, I haven't had the need for more ports, and it's been so nice not having to worry about dongles. So as a video editor, I love having all these ports on this device. So the next great thing about this laptop for video editing specifically are its keyboard and trackpad. This has Apple's backlit Magic Keyboard, and I know this may be polarizing, but I think it is so satisfying to type on. The keys are very responsive and tactile. I made sure to learn keyboard shortcuts as soon as I started using Final Cut Pro, and I know when I press specific keys and with certainty as well. As for Apple's Force Touch trackpad, I think we all know by now, hands down, it's the best trackpad in the game. It's so large, it's so tactile, moving clips on a timeline from side to side. I feel like I don't run out of room dragging clips, files around. It's great. Nothing else to say about it. So if you plan on doing a lot of video editing on the go, then I'm also pleased to let you know that both its portability and its battery life are fantastic as well. This MacBook Pro feels a little boxier than previous models that were more clamshell shaped, but I don't think this makes it any less comfortable to hold or use on your lap. It's 0.61 inches in thickness and weighs 3.5 pounds, so it doesn't weigh down my backpack, which is surprising, especially for the processing power that you do get with this machine. As for the battery life, you can get up to 17 hours on a single charge, which will be more than enough for anybody to make it through a full editing session in a day before you need to head back and charge it again. I think battery life on a laptop, especially used for video editing, is so important because video editing softwares use so much power to actually run them. So having a great battery on this device actually makes it a viable option to do work on the go. So with all these positives, how does this laptop actually perform when it comes to video editing using the M1 Pro chip? I mean, you would think it would work perfectly fine because the optimization between Apple Silicon and Final Cut Pro, and the fact that the base M1 Pro chip has an 8-core CPU, 6 performance cores and 2 efficiency cores, a 14-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine with 16 gigabytes of RAM, right? Well, for the most part, great, but not perfect. Here, let me show you why. I actually have the laptop right here. It's been here the whole time. Just chilling over here. So for reference, I film all my videos in 4K 30 frames per second with the Vlog profile because I actually have a Panasonic Lumix S5 that I'm filming on right now. But this right here is actually my current video, as you can see from this timeline right here. And it's pretty big, it's pretty beefy. Come over here to the end, it's 14 minutes, 10 seconds. And just scrolling through, you can see how many different transitions I have. I have transitions all over the place. I have markers. Every single clip has an audio effect on it. Everything has color grading, LUTs. I have just everything that you could imagine in here. I have presets everywhere, plugins plopped in here and there. I have music going the whole time. I would say it's a very complete timeline. So as you can see, I'm actually able to scroll through the timeline pretty smooth. I think it does drop just a few frames as I'm scrolling through like really quick, but it's nothing to like complain about. Dragging clips around, I would say, is also very similar to just scrolling through the timeline. As you can see me dragging this clip around, it's dropping maybe just a couple more frames, I would say. And especially like when you jump from like, you know, section to section on the timeline. But again, it's nothing awful and nothing that I would really complain about too much. And actually playing through the timeline here, you can see that it's not skipping frames and it's doing a very good job playing this 4K footage with a bunch of effects, LUTs, and everything else you can imagine on top of it. But where things really do start to go wrong though is when you either have plug-in transitions, put them into the timeline, or if you have multiple 4K videos stacked on top of each other playing at the same time. Let me show you. So this right here is the start of the video, like one of my cinematic intros or whatever you want to call it. But right here, I have a plug-in transition and you'll see the playback when it goes over that transition, it skips a lot of frames. Ready? Check this out. Here it comes, boom, 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 boom. And it's so hard to edit like that because you're trying to match that up to music, making sure that it flows very nicely. And that's almost not workable because how many frames it drops right there and it almost freezes. And then for the second example, this right here, I split the screen into 4 different quadrants, playing the same clip over it, and they're all in 4K. And ready, I'm gonna play this through again and you're going to see that it drops frames. It doesn't like it. You could see it a couple times there. Here, let me go back again, see if it does it this time. Right there at the end, it definitely does, but I'm telling you, like, it's being good right now, of course, when I'm filming the video. Trust me, I promise you, most of the times when I get to that part of the playback, it would actually like lose the audio and then the audio would be delayed a second or two, as well as just it dropped frames. So those are areas where this laptop cannot handle. So I'm telling you right now, if you plan on using this device to edit 4K video on, then when you import your footage, please create proxy files to at least 1080p. A proxy file is essentially a lower quality version of a file that you can use to edit with, and then when you go to export, it will export the full original size video exactly where your proxy files were in the timeline. This makes video editing so much smoother and easier on your MacBook because now you're working with much less data per clip. So here, I'm gonna go over here in Final Cut Pro, I'm gonna go to proxy only because I did make proxy files for this. And in those 2 areas that gave me real trouble in 4K, you'll see it takes it like a champ and it really does work well with these new 1080p clips. So first the transition right here, boom. No frames dropped, didn't look like it, great, I can work with that. And then go into the 4-part clip, same thing. Perfect, great again. So that's just an example of using proxy files, and when you do in 1080p, this laptop can handle it, no problems. So what I recommend doing is making proxy files, putting together your timeline, cutting up clips, adding effects, whatever, and then go back to your original files for the color grading so you can see the clarity and the accuracy that you want in your clips. I think this is a very manageable workflow and it makes this laptop great for video editing. But that's not all. There's actually one more problem that I've run into a few times now that I think is worse than what I just showed you. On a few occasions when exporting a completed project, usually a video around 14 or more minutes, about 70% through the export, it will just suddenly stop and I get a warning that I have run out of application memory. It then continues to suggest that I close every single other app, so I do that, and then not 5 to 10% more of exporting, I get the same message again. And it's really just sometimes I don't know like if my project will export. I keep doing that same process and luckily every time so far it has exported. Like I actually predict this video to give me trouble. If it does, I'll put it up somewhere right here, right now. I think it's crazy. It sometimes reaches 15.7 gigabytes out of my 16 total gigabytes of RAM. So I know that this is more of a RAM problem than anything. I guess I'm just not experienced enough and I didn't know that 16 gigabytes wouldn't be enough. I just think that's kind of crazy how this brand new laptop can almost not export my current videos. It's kind of scary, and like I've actually called Apple and I've talked with them. They said it should be fine. I've reformatted my SD cards, like everything should be working, and it's not. So if it's not that I just don't have enough RAM and it's actually like a problem that's fixable, could someone please comment down below, and I'll actually pin the solution, if there is one, in the comment section down below. So if this is also happening to you, please go check down there for a pinned comment. So my final thoughts as to if this laptop is still good enough for video editing in 2023, and my answer is almost. I think for actually editing your videos, color grading, and working through the timeline, you can manage with 4K and excel with 1080p proxy files. The M1 Pro chip does have the processing power to be usable for the large majority of content creators out there, especially if this is your on-the-go editing device. And it has the hardware to back it up with a gorgeous display, portable size, port selection, and a great battery life. The only area where this base M1 Pro version falls short for me is with its RAM. And because of that sole reason, and also the fact that Apple so kindly just dropped the new M2 MacBook models the same day that I'm actually recording this video, then I actually do recommend not picking up this one, but picking up the new M2 Pro MacBook Pro. So the base M2 Pro version does only have 16 gigabytes of RAM, but it can be upgraded to the 32 gigabytes, which I think you need if you're editing 4K footage. There is actually an education sale going on right now, so the base version is $1,850, and upgrading to the 32 gigabytes of RAM will cost you around $2,200. So this will solve the RAM issue that I've had, and not only that, but you're getting a brand new device. It's gonna have support for updates longer. You're gonna have a new, more powerful chip inside of it as well. The M2 Pro is better than the M1 Pro, so you're actually saving money getting the M2 Pro currently today as I'm recording this. So I do recommend getting the new model and skipping out on this older one. So that's gonna wrap up my review of the M1 Pro MacBook Pro specifically for video editing. Don't forget to check the comment section down below just in case someone does find a solution, and there is even a solution to the RAM issue, and with Final Cut Pro, it'll be pinned down there if there is one. But that's gonna be the end of the video. If you enjoyed it or if you learned something new, then please don't forget to like button down below and subscribe. And as always, have a great day everyone, and cheers.